From Bossier City, Louisiana, this is the Grouch and the Brainstorm. All right, welcome back. I'm Mike. I'm joined today with Matt.
Hello.
And Jill.
Hey, guys.
And we got Travis.
Morning.
And Kyle.
Hello.
All right, so we got an episode today. What is this? Matt, what episode
I
is
prepared for this because you told me right before this.
Wow.
Season 2, episode 8.
Yeah, season 2 episode.
Oh, look at
I don't
us.
even get a drum roll on that, dude.
I got one
taken
here somewhere.
2 years.
Hang on. Let me get a drum roll for you, Matt. I don't know. It's called rim shot. I don't really like hitting that. I don't really like hitting that button unless I have
Whole
to.
other deal.
So while I'm searching for your rim shot, we'll
I mean, I'm pretty proud of myself there.
why don't you? We were just discussing Jill's choice of a breakfast today, and it was what was that, Jill?
Well, it was a light whole wheat English muffin with hummus, feta, and roasted zucchini.
Yeah,
It was delicious.
well, I mean, it sounds like
You're out of donuts.
you're definitely sober, Jill. You're definitely sober. You probably couldn't talk a drunk person into
I
it.
am enlightened.
Yeah.
You know, when we got here, we were a little delayed in recording because we were waiting on her to roast the zucchini outside over the roasting pit.
On that light wheat bread. So, I don't know.
I was hungry. Y'all know I get hungry.
How are the pigs?
The pigs are great, and we're letting them outside, and they're really enjoying rooting up everything. It's been kind of funny because we have a ramp for them, and little Bud is trying to figure out the ramp, and I watched him fall from the top of it. Backside, his feet were in the air and just splashed in this huge like mud pile, and he didn't move for like a couple of seconds, and then he just like just started squealing at the top of his lungs, came running to me.
So he liked it? You think he figured it out?
It startled him,
Yeah.
but they love it. They're doing great.
Good.
I have 5 chickens that will be here next month.
You said
Okay.
let them outside, so they're housebroken.
No, they have a pen.
Okay.
They were just too small. Because like out here, a coyote, a raccoon, a hawk, something will eat them.
Well, I noticed a pet carrier
That was because I had to take them to the vet.
to have their things checked.
Well, disposed of.
No, I mean you already had that done on the last episode.
Oh no, that's still from then. I need to clean it out and get that back to its owner.
So are they adopting to life without their?
They're actually doing quite great.
Good.
I mean, that was just a little thing. An hour later, they were fine.
Well, I mean, work. I guess different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, suppose.
I guess, for lack of a better way to put it, no strokes for them folks. How about that,
Yeah, not them two.
Matt? How's it going on your end, man?
Man, everything's great. Everything's great. Just busy as always, you know.
All day, every day. We missed a recording last week, and I didn't get a chance to even record a warning that we wasn't going to have a recording. We just kind of missed because of some outside things that came up. So, but anyway, we welcome Travis and we welcome Kyle today. We're gonna talk about a subject that Matt is actually thought up or he brought up to want to talk about, and I think it's a good subject to talk about, and that is expectations during early sobriety or expectations
Whoa.
period. Matt, which one do you want to?
Either one. I mean,
So we'll start with early sobriety, and then we could just move on to any sobriety, and then hell, it just ain't even got to be sober, I guess, to have expectations. You know, my expectations are, I guess, sometimes decide whether or not I am serene. You know, my serenity is definitely proportioned to my expectations, and
That's for sure.
I got here this morning. I drive in. And everybody knows this in the audience, but I drive in from Fort Worth, Texas. I don't know how long we'll drive, but I get to go how fast I want to go. Most of the 3-hour trip, and I go 2 hours and 55 minutes at my speed of choice. And it's provided there's no real traffic, right?
Are cops?
Or well, no, I go I go 75,
Okay,
80.
just checking.
I don't go really fast, and I get off of onto Swan Lake Road. And bam, I am behind someone going 5 miles slower than the speed limit. Well, my expectation is for everybody to keep going, just like I've been going, so I can get to where I god dang want to go on time. And of course, you lose a little bit of serenity. And then I didn't even notice it until you noticed when I pulled into the drive. You said, it was a little
2 wheels.
2 wheels. So definitely, even no matter how long we've been sober or not sober, we're going to have those expectations. So, but Matt, was a question posed to you to bring this up?
No, I've got a sponsee, and I got a couple other people that are early in sobriety, a couple guys that I just not sponsoring, but hanging out with like we do, and then working at a treatment center, I have contact with a lot of guys get out, and I give them my number, and then they're just like, oh wait, this is hard, and I'm like, yeah, like we've been telling you that, and I think we have this expectation that, and I'm gonna try not to get too detailed with the people, but we have this expectation, and we get out, and everyone's like rolling out this red carpet because we did 30 days in a treatment center, and forget the 20 years that we spent setting our life on fire, and we just expect everyone to, a great job offer the first week, our wife meet us at the door with, coffee and candy and,
And your girlfriend.
whatever. Yeah. I mean, that's you have to go somewhere else for that, but that's later in sobriety, yeah, I mean, and then we get out and we get home, and it's like, oh no, I have a huge mess here, and a lot of people are pissed off at me, and I've got a hill to climb here to, and then we want to go back, or they want to go back to that old way of covering that feeling up, and not having to work through that and do it the right way, and I think I see them sitting in treatment, and they're like, life is so good now, it's so good, and I'm like, yeah, and you're fixing to walk out the door, and then this is what you're preparing for here, and this is what everyone's trying to prepare you for, but to get through that first part of sobriety, it's tough, and I don't think you can prepare somebody for that, but you can do your best, and I mean, I don't know what y'all think about it, and I want to hear y'all's thoughts, but I've been dealing with that a lot the last few months, and had a couple guys go back out, and I mean, and then, and it's, as much as you tell people, it's like they have to make that decision in their brain, no matter how uncomfortable or not fun this is right now. I've got to stick to what I'm doing and trust the process. And, but I don't know how y'all were with early on.
I want to say something real quick that I think a lot of people that get sober think, oh, I'm cured. Mm-hmm. And man, was that not the case? I literally thought you just go to treatment, you get healed, and well, you're done. And that was my first expectation. That was completely just, what's the word I'm looking for? God bless. It must have been the zucchini.
That's why I don't fool with that stuff.
Well,
Could have been the hummus.
Could be that hummus zucchini combo. That's a bad deal.
Well,
Never been accused of sticking my zucchini in the hummus. Never.
Well,
God
it goes
bless
back
Mike.
to that girlfriend thing.
So anyway, yeah, I think that's what got me. I didn't want to do the AA thing because, like, why would I need that? I didn't realize it would be as much work. I think it wasn't necessary. It was not even a hill. It was a mountain range. It was the Andes. I didn't even realize what was about to happen. I did think that, well, first of all, I'm sober and I deserved all these things. And that's what was a huge letdown in early sobriety because, like, the family, the man, I just thought I'd be like wealthy and all these like wonderful things would happen. And I'd all of a sudden get the house and all the, wonderful things of life. And it didn't happen. So that was a huge letdown. And also there's the fact that, like, I had to work for my sobriety. Because I used to be, I was lazy, I was a procrastinator, and I didn't put much effort into anything. When I realized, like, holy shit, there's a lot more to this than just going to treatment. This is work. And I played around with that for years. Like, because I still wasn't sold, and I still didn't think that's what I needed until I started having a lot of, pain and recovery, but just so many expectations, and none of them happened. So I was really pissed in early recovery. I was furious because I saw these things happening to my friends, but like nothing was happening to me. But it was just pretty much like my mindset. I could still do that if I wanted to. But I learned pretty quickly to not have expectations, because every time I have expectations, I get let down.
And that goes to what you just said too. And I want you guys to jump in on this. Look, don't be shy. We interrupt the shit out of each other. So, but the comparing, oh, my buddy got out and he's got, look, he has a nice home, and we're comparing all that other stuff.
Yes.
I just had this conversation this morning at 7:00, standing in the dude's kitchen before I came up here, and I was like, he's like, well, I should be. And I said, you should be nothing. I said, you're 90 million miles ahead of most people that get out of a treatment center already. And well, I should be making more money. I should be. No, you shouldn't be doing any of that stuff. You should be in jail or dead.
The shouldas will get you in a lot of trouble. Those are cognitive distortions. They're false and irrational thoughts. If it should have been, it would have been. And I was locked into that. Again, it made me angry.
Yeah.
And I think that's what kept me in my addiction, because things didn't happen the way they should have. And that was my go-to. Just screw everything.
Yep. What do y'all think about that now that we went to town?
Do we get a chance to talk now?
Yeah, we call that
of course.
shooting all over yourself.
You're right. What something Matt hit on there, we get in rooms about in the rooms, and we celebrate sobriety, and we congratulate each other, and we just I fell into that trap of thinking everybody should celebrate the fact that I'm not drinking. And, I go home and I tell Mom I hadn't had a drink in so many days, and she said, well, neither has the cat, so we celebrate ourselves, and we should, but we also fall in that trap that everybody's going to celebrate and our sobriety, and they're just thinking you're not doing what you shouldn't be doing, and you don't get a cookie for that.
Right. You're living life just like we are.
Right.
Wow.
We're the only type of people that brag on stuff we're already supposed to be doing anyway.
Right.
Chris Rock had a thing about that, and he's like, these guys will brag, I take care of my kids. He's like, you supposed to, you dumbass. Like, what do you want, an award? Yeah,
It's a great skit.
I mean, that's the way we are. We're like, everyone should celebrate,
I haven't stolen anything in 30 days.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Get this trophy we stole for you.
Right. And the shouldas, I should be making more money. I should have this in my life and that in my life. I think for me, I fell in that another trap, I'm still looking for that outside solution for that inner problem. And I'm looking for the easier, softer way, because it's easy to focus on my finances or the relationships or that and this, that, and the other, when the last thing I want to do is look at myself and look at my relationship with my higher power, which, ultimately fixes everything. But it was the last thing I wanted to look at. And something Jill said a while ago, in early sobriety, I just thought I was going to go to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it was going to come by osmosis just by sitting in a room, because they kept saying, meeting makers make it. So I'm going to make a lot of meetings, and I'm absorbed this by osmosis, and my life is going to change without me actually having to do any work. And that was utter failure.
Yeah. Yeah. I required some outside help.
I think that the best expectation in early sobriety is probably no expectation at all.
Yes.
I had the fortune when I was in treatment of having support at work, at home, and everywhere. And I would hope everyone would have that, but not everybody does. But I tell you what, when I got out, most of the outside world that doesn't understand this disease, they think I was cured. Oh, we covered for you for 30 days or 45 days or 90 days or whatever. You're back home, get back to work, or get back to taking care of the kids or get back to living life. And we're not real good at going 0 to 100 on anything. So that was a transition for me that was a little bit difficult, and that's why I had to spend more time in the rooms at AA, because you guys understand me. I can't people outside of our program. I can't really explain this thing to them, that I have to do this consistently every day, nor should they have to accommodate me. This is my problem. And so that was a transition that was a little difficult for me. Fortunately, in my situation, I was beat up so bad when I got to treatment that I was kind of ready to have no expectations. It doesn't have to be that way. We don't have to all go down that far to get to that point. But no expectations early on is pretty good. And I was talking to a friend of mine. His son just checked into a treatment center in Arkansas last week. A wonderful kid, and I'm really excited for him. And so I was talking to him just about living life. And I was telling his dad, who drinks socially, doesn't have a drinking problem, and this kid that checked in and myself, we're wired different. And we've been around. We grew up around everybody drank, about just about everything we did. And it's really hard to ask for help for something that seems so normal to those you love and to those around you. It's not easy to do, because they look at us and say, why can't you just do this? Why can't you do this? Some of us are just wired different. And once I accept that I'm one of those guys that's just wired different, then I can get, like Travis says, the medicine that I need.
And it goes back to step one too, with these guys, these two gentlemen that I'm talking about, that I've been dealing with. We got to work step one thoroughly. And when we accept that and go, okay, I've done that, I know what I am. Well, you can work on it. But if you're halfway in on that deal, that's what you wind up with.
Yeah, I think there's so many layers to that. I mean, like, I knew that I was unmanageable and powerless when it came to, most of my addiction. And then like you get sober and you deal with that, but then you realize, oh gosh, my emotions, my ways of thinking. I mean, I was completely delusional. And I think that was just as hard, if not harder. No, that's harder for sure. Because that's like still the same stuff that I continue to work on, is the emotions, is just the bullshit that goes on in my head. Mm-hmm. And you don't even realize that till you get off the drugs and you're like, oh my gosh, well, I'm just completely full of shit. And you start to realize, like, your whole life you've just been like
full of shit.
Right. Well,
like, it's not that I've been lying to everyone else. I've been lying to myself.
Yes. And I think that was like really difficult.
We are legends in our own mind.
Well, it's just the fact that when I realized, like, what the hell have I been doing?
Yeah.
Because in my mind, I deserved all this stuff. And, I realized how entitled I was and all this, like, just stuff. And, I had to work on that to get rid of the delusion that I deserved or had all these expectations.
And you have to stay sober in between going through all that.
Yeah, they don't let you drink.
Yeah, my
general
general idea would just be, after all that, screw it, man. I'm just going to go back to what I know.
Well, and I think most people do.
Most people, I got sober when I was 38. Travis is a prodigy. I get it. He was sober when he was like early. He was young.
I think he was in first grade.
Like 19 or 20,
sober.
Right, Travis?
First sobriety date was 21.
21.
The current one is 24.
Okay.
24 years.
So he was in a he was very, but most of her about 30. So when you get to that age, and you're like, I've been going, whatever's been going on up here has been wrong all this time. I mean, there is a strong urge to say, screw it. I would rather just go back to what I know, even if what I know is killing me.
Right. Yeah.
But to the backup point of that's where we get out and have to trust that sponsor and people to go, this goes against my nature of everything that I want to do here, but I'm going to put a little bit of faith into someone else and shut my stuff down and do what they're suggesting I do.
Yeah.
And you have to, you have to sort of do that blindly almost sometimes.
One of the delusions I had in early sobriety was, well, let me back up for a sec. You know, before I got here, everybody was saying drinking's your problem. Your problem's drinking. So if I eliminate the problem, which is my drinking, right, everything's going to be fine.
Right.
So one of the biggest delusions that I had in early sobriety was life is going to be easy on from here on out. No bad stuff is ever going to happen again. And then life started happening, and I didn't have a solution for that because I was just, you know, I'm immune to this because I'm sober, and I was thinking, I shouldn't be dealing with this.
The life thing, I absolutely. You know, I noticed that when I got sober, crazy stuff stopped happening, but bad stuff still happens.
Exactly.
You know, like we were talking earlier about our friend Hodge that was on the show, and he had the little guy in his trunk or in his toolbox of his truck, and he drove
Yes.
all over the city trying to get different people to get this little guy out of his toolbox. Which every once in a while I check in his toolbox just to make sure. But that kind of stuff stopped. You know, the long periods of forgetting where I am and what I've done and all this. But bad stuff, people still pass away. People still, unfortunately, still go back out and drink. And, you know, we still have arguments with the people we care about. You know, I mean, all those things but we have another way of dealing with it, you know.
Life still happens.
And we got to remember that those people on that side might not necessarily have the same way of dealing with it we do. You know, I get to go to a clubhouse at the end of the day and talk to, I don't know, 40 people if I want to about whatever's going on. And whoever I'm arguing with on the other side may not have the luxury of doing that. They may have one or two people they get to talk to, or worse than that, a family member who's already got a biased, you know, and we get to go talk to people who goes, oh, no, you're wrong.
Yeah.
You're wrong. You need to go apologize. You need to, and on the other side, there, you know, you need to leave them. you need, you know, kill him in his sleep. You know, whatever they say to him. I don't know. You know,
You can make amends for it later.
yeah, make them.
There's a step for this. Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, the coping, the things that you're talking about to make all these things right and to do the right thing is not learned by sitting in the rooms. It's learned by, you know, well, I mean, of course, sitting in the rooms, but not like doing nothing. It's work. It's going through the steps over and over again and learning these skills because, well, that's how it happens. I've known people that have sat in the rooms, refused to do the steps or get any help. And one of them killed herself. And I was just like, man, and I kept telling her, do the steps, get some help. Because I don't know, I can't imagine what her expectations were.
Yeah.
It's amazing how, you know, I never went to the liquor store and didn't buy liquor. I never went to the dope man's house, did buy dope. But I'll come to the rooms of a 12-step program and not want to work the 12 steps. And thinking, you know, if I just sit here.
Hey man, I fish. Okay. If I drive my butt up there to that lake and I get in that boat and I sit out there on that chair and I just watch the lake, you know how many fish I'm going to catch? Not the first one. Not the first one. I got to pick up a rod, figure it out, start casting, keep working on it until we figure out how to catch fish. It's the same way,
Right.
You know?
My early sponsor would constantly remind me there's a chapter in the Big Book called Into Action. Yep. There's not one into thinking. And I was like,
Into self.
right. Into action. So it's the action that we put behind all the
Agreed.
fellowship. It's the action behind all the talking about it.
But we tell ourselves, like, I mean, I know I told myself, well, I don't need that shit. That's stupid. Why would I work the steps? It was a tall order for me.
I talked to a guy the other day, and this is how we do, and he was on 4, and he brought it up to me and pulled me to the side, and I don't sponsor the guy, and he's like, I just, you know, yeah, I got character stuff and all this, but it don't have anything to do with my drinking. This was stuff that was pre-existing. And I was like, everything, including
Yes.
blinking, has to do with our drinking. Well, I don't agree with that. And I was like, and that's why your ass is sitting in AA meetings every day. So just do it and see what happens. You know, just blindly go ahead with it and try as best you can to do these steps. And he didn't do them, you know. I don't.
And I don't know if that's what ultimately why relapses are such a happen so often is the further I get away from that last drink, if I'm not healthy or trying, then the closer I am to the next drink. I forget about all the bad stuff.
Sure.
And don't want to do anything. I'm out of the foxhole now, so to speak. So now I can do it my way. And I think that's just ingrained in us.
Yeah.
Complacency.
I'm into instant gratification.
Yeah,
I want that
I
magic
love that
pill, and I want to be
stuff.
done with this and to move on to the next item, and to actually sit down and look at myself and put pen to paper. That takes time and it's painful, and no, I don't. I want to feel better now.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with all the things that are causing my drinking, all the things that are blocking me off from the sunlight of the spirit, my relationship with my higher power. I don't want to deal with that. I want a magic pill and be able to move on.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And still kind of seek it in a way. You know, I'm Travis made me think of something. And this might you might find this funny, but it's very characteristic of what I've got going on. And I set out Friday evening. I was going to come over here and I was going to go to a meeting. Right, just drive over here, go to a meeting, turn around, and drive back, just for the heck of it. I had an evening to myself, didn't have anything to do, and so on my way over here, probably shouldn't say this on the thing, but I was playing on my phone, and I got an email from Walmart. And it wasn't a work email. It was a Walmart email from Walmart.com. And they had like $80 off of these headphones that I'm currently wearing right now. So I got all the way to Buc-ee's, which is an hour and a half from where I live. Like I got all the way to Buc-ee's, past Buc-ee's, almost to Duke's. And I bought those headphones. And I turned around and I went back to Fort Worth to pick up my headphones because I was not going to wait till the next morning to get them.
My head.
And in my head, I had already pictured myself sitting down on my computer right here with my headphones hooked up, doing some audio stuff and testing them out, making sure, and of course I did all that. And it took about 20 minutes and I could have actually just waited. But instant gratification. Yeah. I mean, I still, now fortunately I don't drink, If the stupidest thing I do is turn around on the way to Dallas, which was probably not a smart idea to begin with, turn around midway and go back and get some headphones, and I actually saved $80. That's pretty good.
Right? How much did you spend in gas?
Gratification. Well, since I'm driving the Nissan out there, gas has been pretty good. 10-gallon tank and gets me there and back. So, but that goes back to the instant gratification. I guess it can go on deeper levels than that whenever but you get fixated on something and all of a sudden that's what's going to make me feel better, whether it's a car, boat, house, drink, woman, man, whatever it is, and then all of a sudden, instead of looking at what we need to be looking at, we're looking at that one thing we know are going to create, I guess it's endorphins. Is that right, Jill? Jill used the word earlier. What did you use the word? Cognitive?
Distortion?
No. Zucchini? No.
She used the word, and every time she uses it, I start getting lost right there. And, I think it was cognitive.
But we as alcoholics want the result.
know.
We just want the car, the chick, the money. Instead of now, the grind and the process is the fun part.
Well,
but
I think
I'm
so
you're good.
Show
I
me
think
the
a lot
baby.
of people forget this is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
This isn't like a one and done kind of deal. It takes persistence and perseverance, like all kinds of stuff. And I don't think I wasn't ready for that at all.
None of the stuff that Matt just named, by the way, is gonna be guaranteed in this lifestyle.
No, absolutely not.
Cars, chicks, women.
But what happens is
chickens, pigs.
we go, okay, there's something I'm going to do, and I'm going to put the effort in, whether it's sobriety or whatever it might be. And you go, hey, I've got to go through this process, and we do that, and we think, well, this might be the result, and turns out our higher power had a different result. every year when I come up on a year, I start thinking about a new birthday year. I kind of start thinking back, where was I at the start of last year, and just kind of go through it. Every year has been totally different and not anything like I thought it was going to be in my own head. And, yeah, and I just enjoy the process now. And it's like I'm kind of excited to see what happens. I don't have to know, I just that's what's been cool about it.
Are you coming up on another year?
In May.
Yay.
Yeah, got a spring baby over here.
Yeah, May. We got a bunch of May guys, man.
Man.
That first 2 weeks of May at the club is a bunch of guys.
7 years?
6,
6 years.
yeah.
Okay.
Feels like 7.
So you
I'm
have big
kidding.
expectations for year number 6?
I don't have any expectations, man. I really don't. I'm just. I have figured out that the uncomfortable and I'm okay with uncomfortable. I'm okay with the ups and downs of things, and I just let them happen. I go through them as best I can. I don't do them everything great all the time, but I can't argue with the results. I can't. There's nothing I can just look back and go, oh, this is horrible. It hasn't been, man. It's been awesome. So
There's something, I'm going to be pretty vulnerable when I say this. I work on myself. I go to meetings. I have a sponsor of sponsees. Like I'm very active in my recovery, but sometimes, just because like I do all that doesn't mean that I can't have my old thoughts. Mm-hmm. At the end of the year is about, and you said we were talking about the beginning of the year. The end of the year can be pretty rough for me because that's when I start to evaluate my life and what all's happened this year. And again, like I try to stay away from those expectations, but I'm human and sometimes we do that. And for 20 something years, the end of the year was horrific for me because it was always like, oh, all my expectations of the year, none of them happened. And I would get really down into self-pity and self-destruct. Well, I was always in self-destructive mode. And I have to be careful because occasionally I will do that. Mm-hmm. And it has gotten a lot better than it used to, but I will analyze the year and it's like, wow, the things I've been praying for and the things I've been working towards just still not happening. And I have to be careful. And I'm glad I have, this program of recovery and things that I can do. And I can focus on, the gratitude and all that of everything that I do have. But then, I will still do that, but just a little bit now.
yeah.
Not to the extent of like,
Well, it's always a work in progress.
yes.
It's like Jesse Beebe used to say, time takes time.
Yeah.
And it's the process of living one day at a time for an extended period of time before our way of thinking starts to change, and we start to realize that
It takes a long time.
it does.
It did for me too.
I always go back to Joe B at our club when I had my first year and I got my coin and all that stuff. And I never talked to him very much that first year. I didn't talk to many people, now y'all can't get me to shut up. But he came up to me after the meeting and he's like, man, that's great. A year and all that. And I was like, yes, sir. And he said, I don't know the situation with your year. He said, I don't know what step you're on. I don't know any of that stuff. He said, but whatever you did, you hung on for the ride. And he goes, now you get to start growing. He hit that one out of the ballpark. And it just made me realize this is a process. Like a year is not a goal. It's just continuing the process. So, but I'm always grateful with those guys that have stuff like that to say, and I love going in a place where literally every bad thing that we could imagine in sobriety that might make us go out and drink or use has happened to someone in that room and they didn't drink or use through it. And where I can sit there and go, okay, well, if they did it, I got a shot. So it's almost kind of like a badge of honor kind of thing. Like, you know what I mean? In a weird way. It's like I managed to get through that. So.
And that's one reason why it's important for me to still go to meetings at this point in my life. And, as I share my experience, strength, and hope, and it's not about me bragging or talking about anything that I've done. It's about sharing my experience so the newcomer can hear what I'm going through and how I dealt with it and how I got through it. And there's no immunity to anything.
I agree. That's why I share the things I do, the vulnerability, the shit, because Not a lot of people did that in my early recovery. It was very
No.
sunshine and rainbows
Yeah.
and shit. And I was like, something is clearly wrong with
Yeah,
me.
I would hear someone share at the club. That reminds me, they would talk about how shitty it was when they were drinking, and then go straight to how great life is now, and then you'd say, "How long have you been sober?" And they, I've been sober for 8 months tomorrow. Well, goddamn, 9 months ago you were digging around in the carpet for some pills you had threw up. And today,
Guilty.
you're picking sunflower seeds off of real flowers, with Ted A over there, I mean, that's weird. Just, that whole, it didn't work like that for me. It just didn't. Matter of fact, the first 2 years, I didn't really do anything outside the club. Didn't do anything other than work, sleep, spend time with my kids, and go to meetings. And that was just for the first 2 years.
Yeah.
And still waiting on some of the stuff that I heard some of those people say. And most of them are still there that I heard, back in the day. But it just didn't work quite like that for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that, it does take everybody. Travis has been sober a long, long time. How long have you been sober?
28 years.
28 years. I can hear what you have to say, and I can hear a guy with 6 months in the same meeting, and you got something going on you're dealing with, and I go, okay, like, we still got to deal with stuff, and like, he's dealing with something now. And then I hear the 6 month guy, and he's like, the world's on fire. And I'm like, it's not that bad on fire. I've been through that. And so I love that's what I love about the meetings is you never know who's going to have something that you can, and you guys with a bunch of years, that's almost service work, because I remember coming in and hearing some guys in 40 years and 35 years. And I'm like, good God, what kind of drinking problem does this dude have? He hadn't had a drink and he's still going to 5 meetings a week, and I realized that we need to see that in there, that people need to see that as an example. Hey, I've been sober a long time, but I still do all the things that we're expecting the newcomer to do, and that I appreciate that about Alcoholics Anonymous for sure.
Well, and I think that goes back to expectations. Is we think it's all about us early on,
Right?
And in meetings, you realize it's not all about you.
Yeah.
It's not all about me. It's about the group and us all trying to get through this thing together. One of the things that I experienced is this freedom from drugs and alcohol that I got early on, but I had no idea what to do with. So. You had the freedom to turn around and drive from Buc-ee's back to Fort Worth to save $80. You don't have the freedom to always make the right decision, but you have the freedom to make that decision. And that's hard to grapple with sometimes. And life is life, and life is hard. Mm-hmm. And, we have the freedom now to make the right decision, the wrong decision, and everywhere in between.
Yeah. And too, I'll go back on this too. When I got my year chip, I didn't say nothing to nobody. Didn't do a birthday. Didn't do any of that stuff. Told my sponsor the day of, I'm getting a chip tonight. He was kind of like, idiot. You should have whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not getting up in front of people. I don't want to do any of that stuff. And I went on as I got up to year 2. I think I did the same thing year 2. But anyway, it finally got to a point, and one of the guys at the club was like, I don't want to sit up in front of everybody and have a cake and do all that crap. And he goes, it's not about you, dude.
Exactly.
And I was like, well, yeah, it is. If I'm sitting up there at the thing and everybody's getting cake, and he goes, no, there's people in there that are right behind you, and they need to see you getting that we succeed at this. And ever since then, I've done a birthday.
There's your service work Travis was talking about.
Yeah. And so it's a weird, we have a weird way of sometimes not weird, but a different way of looking at things. And that's my favorite thing, man. Birthdays. I love going when we have a birthday. I don't care who it is. I just like, so, but anyway.
Was Coleman there last week for his birthday? 2 weeks ago?
Coleman celebrates a whole month of his dadgum birthday,
true.
okay? Coleman, you hear me? Yeah, Coleman's been celebrating. There was parades.
Compared only to Mardi Gras.
Yeah. Our buddy Terry P. Celebrated 5 years
Yes.
this week. He also probably threw a parade. I've already picked on him, so he knows it's coming.
Him and Coleman.
He had on a T-shirt Thursday night that said 5 years. It had the days, the hours, all that listed
Minutes.
on the front of the shirt. Seconds, the whole deal. So that's
It's
my
just time
partner.
to shine.
Yeah. He loved it, man. They're good guys. They're
So
good
if
guys.
Terry's got 5 years, somebody else has birthday about the same time as Terry. Maybe it is Coleman. Maybe that was the one I was thinking of.
I heard Coleman just partied all over town for his birthday. That's what I heard through the grapevine. But that's
11
I hope he did.
Yeah, 11
Yeah,
years.
he's got a while. Yeah.
On my birthday this month, we had 2 1 years,
Yeah.
and then
At your birthday?
Yeah.
there were
Yeah.
4 people cheering. We had 2 with 1 year,
It's like a press conference. It was all the front was just
and Nathan had 13 years, and then myself.
yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
Nathan.
Comes with Nelson to the front
Oh,
part.
Nate.
Yeah, Nate.
Okay, so Nate got 13.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him. I just call him Nate. So who else? It was you, Nate.
Danielle and Sheila.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, we talked briefly about Sheila's on our last
Yes.
podcast.
And Danielle, her sponsor, Miss Faye, we're going to have a bronze statue built at the club as people drive by, just because I know what Miss Faye's going through to get her to that point. So, yeah, I'm picking on you, Danielle. She listened to every one of them. But, yeah,
So
that's
she
pretty
got
cool.
a year now.
Yeah.
Good for her.
And Sheila, our buddy Sheila. So, yeah, I mean, it's those 1 years are awesome too. I mean, they're awesome. But it keeps you going when you see people do that, and then 2 or 3 years go by, and all of a sudden their job's a little better, and you just kind of, not that you talk to them all the time, but you just see that their life is starting to happen, and that's awesome.
And it's hard for that person. It was for me anyway to look back at that year and see the differences that other people see. Because I see through the eyes of expectations. And my children who didn't have any expectations of me, seen a whole different person a year later, or my ex-wife, or my mom and dad, or my coworkers. I couldn't see that because I'm just seeing what I want to see results. I want to see all this great, wonderful stuff that has life, you know what I mean? So it kind of gets you down, and it's okay to be a year sober and still batshit crazy.
Right.
Or 2 years, or 10 years, or how long, Jill?
What?
No, but it's okay. I mean, you're always getting better if you don't go back.
Right. And something I was just thinking about is we're talking about unrealistic expectations. For me, it's impossible to not have expectations. What I have to avoid is the unrealistic expectations that my keen alcoholic thinking can come up with. And it's where my sponsor is very important. And I run these expectations or these thoughts or these ideas that I have with my sponsor, and he can sort through the mess and help me see the reality of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they I mean, this guy the other day, he just totally off the reservation. I'm like, dude, and it did me a lot of good because I was like, whoo, I'm looking in the mirror, but it's like, man, what are you, we think we're entitled to, or we think that like, there's a trophy waiting on us when we get out of rehab, and it's like, nobody's waiting on you, bro. Just life. Life's going to be waiting. So, but I do think bringing up the cure, there's that cure like Kyle was talking about. Hey, wipe your hands off 30 days. You're good. Let's roll. It doesn't work that way. And it's a grind. It's a process. And, I've just learned to enjoy the process. So,
one of the things that I noticed about treatment, though, is that we didn't have our phones at the treatment center I went to. I very rarely got to use it. And, I was so important because it's all about me that all this stuff was going to collapse while I was gone to treatment. And I get out and it's all still there. And so, from an expectation standpoint, that helped me realize that the world's not going to burn down. if I am not out there trying to control everything. And, a year's a long time. 30 days is a long time.
Yeah.
And we think that all this bad stuff's going to happen unless we maintain control of it. And the reality is people go to treatment for 30 days all the time, and their life is fine when they get out. So that helped me with early expectations, realizing that the world is going to turn, whether I try to turn it or stop it or anything else.
Yep.
You have so much insight. I mean, I was still not okay. I still was like just not, when I was at your length of sobriety, things just still weren't clicking.
Well, a little background. I did 9 years without working steps, like you were talking about earlier.
Oh, okay.
So I did 9 years dry, sitting in the room, no sponsor, no steps. So I had a little background about what my problem was.
Oh, okay. I'm like, wow, you're blowing me away here.
Well, thank God nothing really horrible happened in my life. Now, don't get me wrong, some really bad things happened to me, consequences. But I wasn't in a jail cell. I didn't lose my kids. I didn't do nothing really horrible happened to me that could have happened to me before I went to treatment this last time. And golly, was I ready?
Good.
I ready?
Yeah.
And it's been wonderful ever since. I mean, it's not all rainbows and sunshine, but life is life, and it's a lot easier to navigate. On this side of things.
I went through, and I can tell where I'm at. A lot of times I go through a lot of crap, and you get that crap in your head. Oh, here we go. It's, oh, poor old me. But now I've gotten to a point now, it may take me a minute sometimes, but when the bad stuff starts happening, I'm like, man, something really good's fixing to happen, because this is the way it always, you got to gut through that little crappy part. And then God's got something waiting over there,
Self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, something bad's going to happen, so that's what I'm focused on. So when something bad happens, I was right, and we go through life waiting for the other shoe to drop. And that sense of impending doom is always there. And when it happens, you're like, oh, I was right all along. This thing is not really working.
And the flip of that is, we just had this discussion with some guys at the place I work and in treatment, and I said, y'all always want to look at the bad. What about a good day? What about when the good stuff happens? Guess what? Don't get too fired up about that, because you're going to have a bad one pretty soon coming up behind it. So we're just trying to stay right there in the middle. All the great stuff that happens, it ain't going to last forever, and neither is the bad.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of our problems are. As far as alcoholics go, we're either all or nothing. We don't have much gray in the middle, and that's just something that we have to learn in recovery, is how to balance everything. Our physical, emotional, spiritual, mental, just everything. And damn, that can be hard.
Yeah, sure. But you just have to. That's that mindset of looking at that and going, "Oh man, all of a sudden I got this great job, or I did this, or I did that." That's just life, brother. Tomorrow can be a shit show, and don't put too much in either one of them. Just keep right there, keep trucking. And, the shit shows do get less, and the good stuff gets a little more if you keep trucking that way. But,
like Jill said, it can be hard. Like you said, bad things are going to happen, but it's about the journey. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey and the blessings that come along the way. But to be able to do the hard work, or to get through the bad things and stay sober, what a blessing. That's what it's about. It's worth it. It's worth all the bad days. It's worth all the hard work that we put into this thing it's worth it that we get to see God working in our lives.
Yeah.
I always say it's not hard for me to find gratitude today. My counselor in treatment was a big guy, Big Frank. And I've got a whole book.
I love him.
Yeah, he's great. I have a whole book of things that I'd written down, Frankisms we call them, and it talked about gratitude so often, because it's so easy for us, especially in early sobriety, is to waller in self-pity.
Sure.
Poor me. All this happened to me. I'm doing right. Things aren't going my way. just simple gratitude that Frank was real big on. And he'd say, Kyle, you can look outside and see the green grass. Some people can't see the color green.
Yep.
And that simplicity of gratitude, we can do it in everything we do. We woke up, took a breath. We're here today. We're sober. There's just a million things that we can be grateful for, even in the worst of times. So early in sobriety, I'm still very early, don't get me wrong, but the days after getting out of treatment, talking about expectations, if I could just default to gratitude, that could a lot of times reset my attitude in a way that got me out of that self-pity, got me some gratitude to my higher power for letting me even have a chance to work this thing. And that was important for me.
That reminded me, in early sobriety, I was struggling with gratitude, and my sponsor was like, instead of thinking about all the things that you want that you don't have, think about all the things you don't have that you don't want. And it put a whole new twist on gratitude. And in early sobriety,
Right.
That's
I
where-
don't have withdrawals anymore.
right,
Don't have the shakes.
I don't have an
Right.
attorney on retainer.
Syphilis.
Don't have it. That's
keep
where I
going.
was going, Mike. You just took it right out of my
I
crabs.
I figured I would go ahead and speak for Matt.
I don't.
Yeah, no more Intoxilox. I mean, you just all the good things.
Think about this. What our chances of even being here are just phenomenal, right? Like me being a live human being is just almost,
Yeah,
like
I
there-
probably shouldn't be alive, but I am.
No, I meant like just think about all of the, I don't want to get all weird, but just one more cell would have attached with one more cell, and there'd be some other person sitting right here or wherever in my place.
I think
Like,
it was Stephen Hawkins did some kind of theory on that, like the odds of even being here on Earth are just astronomical. Dan was talking about gratitude, and then all the things we did to ourselves to try to not be here.
I know.
Not in an intentional effort, but just looking at the odds and the statistics, none of us should probably have lived through a lot of the things that we've
sure.
done.
For
so you put
sure.
that on top of the other astronomical stats about even being here, and like I said, it's that you do all that and look at it like that. It's not hard for me to find some gratitude.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even things in the past that were so bad that I did in addiction and all that stuff, I get hit with gratitude when I just get a random guy roll up to me and go, "Man, I did whatever," and I'm like, "Ooh, I did that too. I had that experience, and here's what happened." And I'm like, I'm pretty grateful that I went through that because it helped the guy out. He's like, "Hey, okay, and so even that weird stuff like that, you look back and go, something came out of it.
Well, 10 years ago, would you expect people coming to you with their problems for you to try to give them advice on how to solve
30
them?
minutes ago, I wouldn't expect that. So what are you talking about? Man, look, but it's funny how I can hear, it's kind of like lifting weights. Our friend Chris C that comes on here, he's a bodybuilder. He's trying to get his body like mine. He wants to look like me, but
That's gonna take.
he's got a long way to
That
go.
has got to take a lot
He's got
of work.
a long way to go, guys. But there's hope for him. But you go in and you lift weights, and I'm in the peak physical shape that I'm in. That's a process, and you can't. If you took a picture every day of yourself, there's not much to look at every little deal. But you go year to year on it, and you start looking back, and you go, "Oh man, big changes." And that's where I think with early sobriety, it's like, man, just blinders on, head down. What's right in front of me? Let's do that right. And don't look up and look for results. Don't forget the results. Just you have to get in that train of thought.
You can really tell a difference in someone's demeanor as well whenever they're not drinking as opposed to when. And I don't mean like their demeanor, like the way they just kind of like the look in their face. I guess we call it the glow, or the glow in their eyes, or their eyes, or you start to whiten up. Someone who drinks all day every day is red. Most people are, and if you drink all day, every day for years and years, like 100, you get a big bubble nose. And, so, but when people stop and they clear up a little bit, and we notice that a lot of times they can't even see that.
And two, on top of that, spiritually, you notice people glowing, I guess is the word, when they start to get it. And it's like all of a sudden this thing comes alive, and it starts inside, but they they become this different person, and there is a little bit of a glow or energy or whatever you want to call it to that. And you don't see it with everybody all the time, but you do see it with folks that come in there and they're doing what they're supposed to do. And that's why those birthdays are so cool, man. You think back, Mike and I were talking about Sheila the other day and her coming in early on, and like, dude, it's awesome. And, you look and see that joy and light on their face, so.
And, Roger got a year back in December. I thought about this the other day. And I was so happy for him, It's like, wow, Roger got a year, but we're now in March. Mm-hmm. That's 4 months ago.
Yeah.
Right? He's damn near on his way to getting, more years.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of him.
Yeah. Roger's.
I'm proud of everybody.
I saw him yesterday. He's so funny, man. He makes me laugh. But yeah, we were cutting up yesterday about some stuff. But
so to sum it up, if you're not getting what you want, stay sober, and maybe what you want will change. I remember talking to Amy, my friend down in Mandeville back with a few years ago, maybe 3. We were at the club and she was talking about all these, I've been here X amount of time. I'm guessing she was 3 years maybe. And she said, I've been here 3 years and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. She's doing great, by the way. But I still haven't got an answer to all my questions. And I was like, well, if you stay longer, maybe the questions will go away.
Right?
yeah.
You'll forget what the question was.
And that was actually, for me, that was experience, strength, and hope, because I had all these questions. I had all of this. I want to know. And after a while, I don't know what happened to them. They just went away.
Right.
I never got an answer to any of them, and they kind of became irrelevant.
You don't care anymore.
Who gives a crap? How do I stay sober? Probably needs to be,
And we go from what we want to our actual needs. I think we get provided with what we need, and it may not always be what I want does not always, usually doesn't align with what God's got in store. But it usually turns out better. And those questions for me have started going away, and I just go, hey man, I'm just rocking this direction.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
And we'll just see what happens. So, and I'm good with that, I'm good with that. But yeah, I thought I had a list, a checklist when I got out of treatment. I'm going to do this. No, I didn't do none of that shit.
Yeah. My expectations turned into, I just don't give a shit anymore.
I mean, like my prayer life when I got out, Bobby, my sponsor, was like, you need to pray in the morning and ask God for help. And my prayers were, I had a free car. Okay, a free car. Have you ever had somebody give you a free car? They're not very nice. They're not nice vehicles. But that joker rolled for a long time, and it didn't have any windows. It had no windows, no glass in the car except the windshield. And I would be driving to work in the dark at 6 a.m. in the winter, and it's like blowing rain in sideways. And my prayer was, this sucks, like every day. But it got better. And you just got to let it suck, I guess, I mean, it's just sit in it and deal with it. And,
and count your blessings.
Yeah.
And I have to think, God gave me everything that I think I wanted at that point.
You couldn't handle it.
I couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't appreciate it either.
Have you ever thought about if God gave you everything you've ever wanted?
I'd be grateful.
Where would I park all the Lamborghini?
All the high school girlfriends, right?
Dead grandparents. I mean, where would all these people be? I mean, think about it. It's a very unrealistic expectation to think that God's going to give me everything I want.
And it's self-centered. It's like we're supposed to be, doing what God needs us to do. And ours is like, yeah, but I'll do it for you in a Lamborghini. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it just doesn't work that way,
Can God's work be in the Bahamas?
Yeah. Can we work at spring break in Panama City? So.
How could I have all this at once?
Yeah.
And still stay sober.
The guy I met with this morning at 7:00, he's self-pity. He's not making enough money. He's not doing this. I'm
not listening to our show anymore either.
Well, no, he is. But, he's going through all this stuff, and I'm like, he's like, I need to be making more money, and I'm like, you can't handle $5. Why do you need $20? You've screwed up $5. So that look at where you're at, dude. And God's not going to give you something just for you to screw it up. I mean, you're not ready. So
It was irritating Yeah, when I was fresh out of treatment and I was working there, $8 an hour. I was like, to myself, I was like, I have a degree. I also was making about 60,000 before I came here. Like,
Well, I
you're
mean,
gonna pay me $8.
it was and he don't mind me saying this, and I'm friends with the guy, and I'm pulling for him, and I went and sat with him this morning for about an hour, and we just talked, and I don't sugarcoat it, and I don't expect it to be sugarcoated for me either. And he's just, well, I'm struggling. I said, you're 2 months out of treatment. Like you were in jail before you got to treatment. Like you're not in jail. You have a roof over your head. And he said, well, I can't even afford to buy groceries. I said, bologna's cheap. Buy it. You know, a lot of it. I mean, you just have to make it work and not have that mentality of, you know,
Expectations.
I should be eating a daggum steak every day. You know, well, no, you shouldn't. You should be in jail.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah, you shouldn't even be alive. Okay.
Yeah, if I got everything I deserved,
yeah.
Right. It'd
Yeah.
be so much worse.
Penitentiary.
All right, guys. Well, we've about run out of time. So, Kyle, Travis, appreciate you guys dropping by.
Thanks for having us.
Look forward to having you again.
Thank you.
I want to remind the listeners out there, you can get a hold of us. We have a voicemail line at 817-988-2530. Area code 817-988-2530. Drop us a line. Or you can reach us at bngbossier@gmail.com. That's B and G, BOSSIER at gmail.com. Also, guys, we have another country added to our list. Ooh. And I've never heard of this country. Yeah. So we got, Lesotho.
Eh?
You ever heard of Lesotho?
Where the hell is that?
That's my people.
It's off the southern tip of Africa.
Okay,
Hell,
cool.
Lord.
I googled it while we was in here, but so we got United States, Ireland, United Kingdom, Taiwan, Canada, Bulgaria, the Lesotho, the Kingdom of Lesotho, Australia, Denmark, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Colombia, the Netherlands, and Mexico. We have listeners in all of those countries. Apple Podcast now does 42.7% of our podcast, and Spotify is still 52.3%, and we've got 3.8 listen on the web. So just a little analytics, So I every once in a while I get excited about these things. We have 3,845 total plays, 113 spot followers, and 2,592 actual Spotify impressions. So we've showed up on people's searches that many times. So
Cool.
And just so you know, the Kingdom of Lesotho is a landlocked country in southern Africa.
I was wondering where they been,
Well,
Figured they were listening.
you
over
would
there.
think with all the invitations we drop, we drop. So
Let's go.
what is wrong with these people?
I know.
So anyway, from Bossier City, Louisiana, this has been The Grouch and the Brainstorm.